Um, Good evening to all of you. I, Sushant Rodavkar, hereby welcome you all for the Leadership Lecture Series conducted by International Alumni Relation IIT Madras. Today we have an amazing lecturer here with us, Mr. Thiagarajan. Mr. Thiagarajan, COO of Agastya International Foundation, Bangalore. Mr. Thiagarajan heads the operations of Agastya International Foundation, a non-profit which runs world's largest hands-on mobile science lab program with serving the educational needs of economically backward school children. Besides operations, he is also involved with policy, scaling, replication, funding, development, and innovation in products and services for the foundation. A chemical engineer from IIT Madras of batch 74. He also holds an MBA from IIT Ahmedabad and has spent 33 years of his work in corporate sector serving diverse sectors such as engineering, IT-enabled services, and in infrastructure. As President, MD, and CEO, before moving to the social side with Agastya 6 years back, he has lectured the leading business schools including IIMs, Indian School of Business in India, global schools such as EL School of Management, London Business School, and Colleague in Northwestern. He is well traveled and has a wide range of interests in sports and music. So now, I want to invite Mr. Thiagarajan for the lecture that we are eagerly waiting for.
It's my pleasure and privilege to be here with you today, and if it's possible to make it non-lecture and a little more interactive, I'll be happy, because that's what we strive and do with the children. That's our main work, not passive listeners sitting there and saying yes ma'am, no ma'am, kind of a thing, but actually interacting, asking questions, getting answers, working with teams, and doing things. That the learning pedagogy of not lecture, but interactive experiential learning. So, as he introduced, I work for Agastya. I'm happy to say I'm also a donor. From my personal funds, I have donated 50 lakhs to Agastya. So there's a building that's coming up and so on. So it's more than just employment for me. It's my life right now. And last 9 years, in fact, this is a bit dated, this resume, whatever. He said 6 years. It's actually 9 years. And I was mentioning to a couple of people that these 9 years have been the most beautiful years of my life after 33 years of corporate life, 5 years of IIT Madras, 2 years of IIM Ahmedabad. They were all great times, but this is really, because it's transformational when you see the gleam in the children's eyes, when they learn, when they know how to learn and all of that, the meta processes that are involved in, understanding and learning. So as I said, it's a privilege always to talk to your alma mater and people from there. And I hope to take back a lot of things from today's interaction, as I hope some of you will. I do know a few people here. I'm very privileged to meet former director Anand, who continues to be a good friend. I spent about 45 minutes with him today. And it's a great feeling to be back in campus. I used to come here between 2001 and 5 almost twice a week because my son was studying here. But after that it stopped because we moved to Bangalore and all of it happened. At a learning level, if I talk about Agastya alone and Agastya's own experience, that's probably not your interest. Your interest probably would be, what does India need? Can we do something in the social sector to make the lot of the underprivileged better? Can I participate in some way? What do I get out of that? Or are there some nuances that you can pick up in terms of how we teach or how we get kids to, come into the mainstream? Those are the things probably you would like to take away from here. I would suggest that I am perfectly happy to stop my talk at any time anybody has any question. It doesn't have to be at the end. if you think something is pressing in terms of you want to understand that a little better, or you have a problem with something that I said, or something that's happening in the movie or whatever it is, feel free to stop, ask the question or clarification or whatever, and I'll be happy to the best of my ability, answer, because I don't know anything, and as you go up, you realize that you know less and less. So it's so that's less and less of more and more things as you realize, right? So do ask the questions, and I'll be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. With that, I'll probably start off with a where is the file? They said it, okay. Not going through there. Okay. So this, yeah. Yeah, you can, no, not, yeah, that one. First one, yeah. Yeah, should go through. No, not that one. Yeah. So this is the topic, better learning opportunities for the underserved in India's schools. We set up Agastya in 2000. Today we serve a little more than 1.5 million children, about 6-7 times a year, because I'm not a school. We welcome schools to participate in our program, either in our science centers or using our mobile labs or our campus or several other programs that we do. We do a lot of product and service innovation as we go along. So new things we introduce to, involve them more. And it's 1.5 million children. But at the end of the day, when you start looking at the total numbers involved in India's population, how many of them are rural? How many of them are underserved? When you look at some of the keywords there, how many of them don't have fundamental hard and soft infrastructure, which is buildings, labs, and etc. on the hot side, and trained, committed, interested teachers who are present. These are fundamental issues. In fact, teacher availability, you start the problem at that level, right? Either the building is there, but no teacher, or whatever, There are schools where one teacher not trained, not interested, not committed, all kinds of issues take place, and that's a huge majority even today, to be honest. And therefore, the problem is absolutely humongous. And for us, the thought is that we started as a 3-4 people initial thought, from there to conceptualization, then we got a campus, and then went into outreach, and today meet, as I said, 1.5 million children 5-6 times a year, but it is still an organization that is run along management lines and so on. When can you become a movement? That is our vision. We want to be a movement. Whatever we do becomes a movement independent of Agastya. That is what we want to be as we go along. So that is a long-term vision of making Agastya and its work, the pedagogy, the hands-on methodology, the models, experiments, activities, and project-based learning, and various other things that we do into it happens in every school by default rather than by force or by somebody else coming in. That is the movement, right? It happens on its own. It's organic, it's movement, it's on its own. So that is what we would like it to become, to set the long-term vision. When you start looking at, this in a slightly more deeper, this thing, prior to that, maybe a little. No, that's fine. I can. Yeah. Prior to that, maybe I will, kind of interest you in a movie clip that we did some years ago. But this is it was a 23-minute clip, but I made it into 3.5 minutes. So that, yeah.
Where the 3 southern states of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu meet, just a 2-hour drive from the city of Bangalore, Agastya International Foundation occupies a 172-acre campus. This campus is the main hub for mobile labs that take lessons in science, math, ecology and art to village schools and communities. In the midst of rural India, Agastya's campus provides a hands-on science museum for children which has one rule: please touch, challenging young minds, sharpening motor skills, and drawing on familiar stories. At one end of the spectrum are the durable, elaborate models used in the Discovery Center and carried to science fairs. At the other end are low-cost experiments and models that can be easily and inexpensively replicated. Scientists who come to instruct teachers and conduct research on the Agastya campus have freedom to experiment with their own methods of teaching and to share the knowledge acquired over their illustrious careers. Teachers from rural areas rub elbows with some of the great scientific minds of India. While scientists, artists, and other visitors instruct the teachers and children, some of the children are also selected for the Young Instructor Leader program. Children are selected to be young instructors when they show special interest and skill. Agastya also reaches communities through science fairs which come into town with all the excitement of a traveling circus. For a few days, young instructors demonstrate low-cost experiments and elaborate models to children from the local schools. Integrated learning, art, dance, as well as science and math are taught on the campus. This engages the child's mind and body so that science and math come alive in new and different ways. Mobile labs visit rural villages after dark, and whole families gather at a central location, often illuminated only by the lanterns the vans carry. Communities learn about the importance of ecology, the value of Ayurvedic plants, and other lessons useful in their lives. As the spirit of Agastya spreads throughout the country and around the world, it is bringing the rural poor to the table as India makes her mark on the global scene.
Next slide. You have to escape it. Yeah. So, in 2007, we were very fortunate to make the acquaintance of Rakesh Junjunwala. We were by that time 5-6 years in Agastya. We went across to him. Initially, he was just thinking about it. He's a very well-known stock market investor known as the Warren Buffett of India. Like one of our own alumni, Prem Vatsa, is known as Warren Buffett of Canada, who I met recently. Rakesh listened to us patiently, then nodded his head. Ultimately, he said, I'm going to invest in Agastya. Invest. So we work completely as a charity. Everything is on donations from munificent and benevolent people or foundations or corporations or governments or various other people who are willing to donate for a cause. And Rakesh used the word invest. So we asked him, what exactly is the reason? Why would you want to invest in Agastya? He said, I'm an investor. I look for return on investment. In your case, the return on investment is rural India has to participate in the wealth creation of this economy like never before in the next 20 years. And if that happens, I'll be the richest person in this land, and you will be the instrument of that. Science, technology, hands-on learning, experiential learning, thinking about things, asking questions, participating in the learning, all of that will have to come in rural hinterland into students who have never even thought about. In fact, prior to coming here, I was with a couple of students, and They asked me, do they ask you questions about IIT entrance? I said, unfortunately not. The reason is that they are not anywhere close to that. The kind of children that we meet, they don't even know there is fundamental awareness issue. Awareness, lack of awareness, passive passing through the class with no sense of what you're learning. And several of the states have a policy of raising you to the next level as long as you're there or you're not there. Whatever, it doesn't matter, you go to the next standard. So you can land up in 9th standard and 10th standard without knowing a shred of anything. If you look at ACER scores on literacy and numeracy, this indicates it all the time, right? We do an annual ACER survey and it indicates. And if you look at science, which is slightly more complicated than just pure literacy and numeracy as we define it, being able to speak right and whatever fundamentally and count and whatever. This is a little more analytical, etc. It'll be even worse, much, much worse. And they just don't get to participate. So there is a question of IIT awareness. Our fundamental work starts with awareness. So the mobile labs that we have of 175 does that. While this slide will remain here just for you to, have a look at what exactly we do, the why, how do we do it, and, what are the various things that we employ, etc. I'll touch upon some of those as I talk, but I don't want, this is the only slide I have. Rest are movies and that kind of a thing. So the reason to do it is very clear. Former Atomic Energy Chairman K.Thiagarajan, who was one of our advisors when we set up Agastya in 2000, said one of the major reasons why we languish is that the cause-effect thinking is missing from our schools, from our system, from our education, and all of that. And therefore, let's rekindle that. And that's what we set out to do, saying let's understand the cause-effect thinking, let's reinforce it, let's get rural folk who have never even thought about those things to come in. And they're all first-generation learners in most of the cases. Farmer's daughter and carpenter's son and all of that. Those kind of people. Livelihoods are a problem, nutrition is a problem, and therefore stunted growth, command kind of this thing that you don't talk to a teacher. You only say yes or you. All this is there, and therefore participation itself is a problem. If you don't participate, if you don't have the fundamental platform, confidence is a problem. And let me tell you, in our experience, one of the greatest aids to learning, wherever I think, is confidence. How does confidence aid learning? It does. If you are, it's not about subject confidence, it's about learning confidence. You don't have to know a huge amount of nuclear physics in order to learn nuclear physics. That's not what I mean. I mean the confidence to learn, absorb, etc. And then higher order skills, meta skills, abstraction, beyond all that. But that confidence is completely lacking. It is, you're so diffident. That had to be pushed, and that's the reason why we said we have to, kind of kindle the innate curiosity. Yes, ma'am. How are we? How was it addressed? Yeah, so I'll talk about it. I'll come. So curiosity, in fact, we had only curiosity, creativity initially as our fundamental things. Then we said, as in engineering or as in mathematics, as in mathematics, triangles make, the triangles make the thing plane that is stable on a surface. So any surface, for instance. So we said the third one we added the confidence. How was it addressed? By actively encouraging children to participate, by making them ask questions, even if it is, elementary or whatever, and then patiently answering, to make them. One of the things that you have seen in the movie clip is called peer-to-peer learning and teaching, young instructor leaders. So to make them teach other children. In fact, research has proved that lectures are the least method to learn, worst way of learning. It's actually doing things, it's teaching is ultimately the You retain 85-90% of what you teach to others, right? And that's a way to learn when you teach. We can ask our professors, I'm sure for a 1 hour of work that they have to do with the students, they have to prepare for hours and hours and end. Because some of you might pipe up with some question that you don't even thought about, and therefore you don't want to be embarrassed in that crowd. Of course, you can always turn around and say, why don't you find out and tell me? That's which is what a lot of people do. Or give it as a project, right? Having said that, I believe that the peer-to-peer learning methodology that we have done quite well with, and active encouragement. The other thing that has helped, in fact, a lot of people who have come to our campus or who have been through the mobile lab sessions or the science center sessions have said, the remarkable thing about your teachers as compared to the school teachers is, in about 10-15 minutes, your teachers are able to create a level of trust that we see. Trust. That means the child starts looking at that particular instructor or that particular methodology as made them friends rather than father figures to say yes sir, no sir, kind of a thing. So that creates the confidence over a period of time. So these are the various things that we do in order to make it happen. Yes.
But I mean, we cannot be there for every day. So
right. So there is an issue. So we are only a catalyst. What we do is maybe once a month. If I'm meeting them 6-7 times a year, I do it only once a month. Can that one session be outstanding from the point of view of various things that we do? That's what we concentrate on. My quality assurance team works on, we have a full-fledged quality assurance team which works on how do you do things like a super start to a particular class where I bring the aha and ha-ha experience, which is the first 5-10 minutes of any Agastya session. A well-conducted Agastya session will be something remarkable that's either demonstrated or happening, or you talk about that you don't know why that happens, right? How does a double cone move in the direction opposing gravity in a plane? There is a model like that where a double cone which is put together will move up a plane. Right? When you look at that, but this can't be happening. That is the that kind of feeling. Then you do it yourself, then you start understanding why does it happen. Then you slowly realize the concept behind which the center of gravity goes down when the double cone moves up, and therefore it moves to etc. etc. When you start realizing that, then the aha comes in. And if you do a few of these yourself, which you have never done before, you have never seen before, this mobile lab comes there with all the excitement, brings 150 models outside, and you're playing around with it, and you're doing, you're taking a straw and cutting it and understanding pitch of the sound and amplitude, and you're doing it yourself, and you're putting a funnel there to see amplification. The child is doing it. That is ha-ha. That is the fun. That is absolutely missing in several of the classes. Right? This is what we try and do in every single class that we go to. And we have set up processes, we have set up, mechanisms to make sure that such a thing happens in most classes. It's not as if we succeed. I have abject failure kind of instructors also amongst my group, let me be honest. Right? We try and train them a little more, we try and bring them back into the scene. We are humane, we are connected, we are caring, and therefore, as a non-profit, we don't really fire people, but we fire them up rather than fire them. Yes.
How do you ensure that this kind of activities, demonstration, 5 to 10 minute demonstration, you do it on a regular basis? Because in regular settings of the classes.
I'm coming to that. Good question. All right. So we'll do that. So this is what we fundamentally do: curiosity, creativity, confidence carrying, and remote, rural, government schools. We don't work with private, funded, urban schools. We don't. Right? Do they need what we do? Perhaps they do. Whole lot of private schools do. I can tell you that. Private schools often, at least in some of the areas, are better uniform, a tie, a shoe, more faculty presence, not necessarily presence in the sense of committed, understanding, trained, quality, not there. However, at least they can afford to do something like this. Rural government schools just cannot afford to do, right? What government spends on education, and you can quote me on this, I don't care, less than 5% reaches the beneficiaries in certain standards. I said 15% in a seminar in Billai steel plant. Former CVC Shankar, Central Vigilance Commissioner, who was a panelist, co-panelist, said, Thiagu, I'll correct you, it is 5%. So I don't mind being quoted. It came from the CVC. That is the truth, right? What goes to the actual beneficiary, and this is very true of several other schemes as well. So what government should do versus what government ends up doing in these schools are very different things. And that's the reason why some of us have to intervene, some of us. I wish there was no Agastya. I wish we didn't exist, because this should have happened independent of us, and that's our vision to do a movement subsequently, saying that independent of me it should happen. Can I instill this as an important thing in the India's education system? So we sit in some policy committees, we sit in CARE, we sit in several other committees and talk about these. Several of the reports say Agastya model should be there in every district, every village, all that is there, but none of that gets implemented, and we get frustrated and we move on and we do things on our own, right? So each one is, in fact, when you deal with states, it's amazing to see the contrast. Some states very welcome, they ask you to do it, they help, etc., both at the political level and at the bureaucratic level. There are certain other states, and I wish to name one where I'm standing right now, TN, which we have had enough trouble with the official dumb saying, been there, done that, we are at Fort St. George's there in 1640, from there we are governing the state, what are you telling me about education? I'm telling you. And I went to meet them courtesy my cousin who is the chief secretary today, Girija, my own cousin. Despite that, this is the result. So that's also quite varying. The understanding of what is required or what is done or what they are capable of or what needs to be done. And ESR scores are no better in Tamil Nadu, by the way. I can tell you that. So it's all in the game. You just have to play it. But you can't work adversarially with the government. You've got to work alongside. That's one lesson that you learn. You can't go and tell them that you do a stupid job or only 5 rupee reach or something. You get completely shot, right? And that's the reason, one of the reasons why we use STEM or science, technology, engineering, mathematics as the medium to do curiosity, creativity, confidence and caring. So our fundamental mission is to do children to be curious, confident, learning, experiential, all of that. But you use STEM as a subject to enter the schools. Otherwise, I won't get the ticket. I'll be booted out if I said, I will teach you curiosity through Carnatic music. Next minute, I'll be out on my butt, because no one wants to do that. They want to do it with some subject and they're hoping that. So that's the reason why we use it. And science obviously lends itself to curiosity. It's direct. Science and curiosity go along. That's the fundamentals of science, right? Asking questions or whatever. So how do we do it? You asked me about intensity. How do you do it day in and day out? So this is a problem we found. About 4 years ago, we said mobile labs are like cuckoo clocks. They go there, do a chime for a day, come back. That school doesn't get a mobile lab for almost a month or month and a half after that. What happens to the rest of the period? Because the same teacher, same this thing, same school, same miserable, same. So some kind of catalyst process in the class itself where you try and interest the teacher, etc. We get the teacher to do some low-cost model making, activity making, paper cutting, origami, various things by which you do. We do puppetry, role play. Anything that you want in a pedagogical sense, we have tried it. We have done kinesthetics of the high, we have tried. Where to teach physics, practically the teacher has gone and danced kinesthetic learning with body language. We have done that too. How do you? So every kind of pedagogy that makes the child interested, awake, interact, questioning, all of that, participating, just to get that. We have done all that. So pedagogically we have tried all that. So one of the things that we did to answer your question was to do an innovation called lab in a box. So we took, say, 5th standard to 10th standard, 10th grade curriculum, mapped it to activities, models, experiments, etc., miniaturized them, as much as possible miniaturize them. So for instance, if I have to teach optics, I had an optics kit which was wooden with Edison bulb, condensing lens, ray maker, slits, and then in that I used to put lenses to show that the rays converge, or as you do with the various lenses and the prisms and total internal reflection, all of that we used to that light moves in a straight line, it gets, all of that we used to do. We have now condensed it into a small box with a collaboration, manufacturing and design collaboration with Olin in Massachusetts, Franklin Olin School, which is well-known school of design-based engineering school. And we have condensed it into LED, solar, so that it can also operate without power. It's very safe because we are not using 240 volts, etc. Child can handle various things we did, and then we have created that, and that goes into a box. So lab in a box is what we do. We created 10, 12 boxes like that, and we said, if you dump the box, dead, nothing will happen. It will go into the headmaster's cupboard and get locked, or get stolen, whatever. Various things will happen. So you have to program around it. You've got to make sure that everything has to be programmed around. That has to be a regular affair. As I go around this campus, there are some very, very nice buildings, extremely well maintained. But I also see some of them are not well maintained. Why does that happen? It happens because we do not have a absolutely strict maintenance regimen, a program around doing things. So if you make programs around hardware, we know things work. We can make it work. So what we did was this 10, 12 boxes. We picked 10, 12 schools of reasonably well interested science teachers in that school, the school teacher, right? And then we said, we'll give you box 1 to school 1, box 2 to school 2, box 3 to school 3, and then rotate every week. Our person will go and rotate. Our person will go and do training, facilitation, mobile lab support, tech support on science, right? Web support on science, where we link up all of those people and say, you can ask a question to me about crystallization of potassium permanganate, I will answer that, or something else in biology, or whatever it is, all those. So we made it into a kind of a programmed lab in a box rotation system model. Now, one box is there in one school all the time, right? And therefore it gets far more intense than a cuckoo clock mobile lab approach. This innovation really worked well. It really worked wherever the school teacher were interested, where we had already done some intervention. It doesn't work if you haven't, if you go to the wrong places, or somebody gets, all that is there. These are issues that you need to this thing. The next thing we did a modular, we took those boxes and put them on 2 sides of the motorbike and loaded a teacher as the driver, right? So in the first case, in a marketing sense, since I come from IIM Ahmedabad, I must talk about that. In a marketing sense, we disintermediated the Agastya teacher, and we made labs work in 12 schools at one point of time with one instructor, as against every day, as against my instructor going only once a day to a school. So disintermediation was an immediate result, right? Miniaturization, replication, various marketing fundas that you can think about were incorporated into that, right? On the lab in a box. And it's been quoted as a very good example, Karnataka and all that. We have done a lot of work in that. Karnataka Science and Technology adopted it and various things. Now, we put 2 of those boxes into a motorbike, put a teacher on that, and said, go to even more remote areas, you carry the boxes, leave it there, do the things. We also said, make your own lab should be an attendant program in any science center or mobile lab interaction where the teacher who is sitting in the class learns how to adopt what you do on a day-to-day basis. Some activity, some this thing, etc. So they get interested. So this is the only way you can perpetuate something. Yeah. That is our teacher. Our teacher. So that, you know, one sociological thing there, you got to think about everything here. At one point in time we said, how can I arbitrage or how can I cut out the driver in my mobile lab? Because the driver is not a teacher. He's just a mobile lab driver, a TT, a tempo traveler van, which carries 150 models. So he just goes there, downloads, and then for 6 hours he's doing nothing. So I said, teacher can be the driver. So we said, we'll give you an incentive to drive. Will you drive the mobile lab? Etc., etc. We offered very good incentives. Supposing the teacher's salary was X, we said, we will give you 1.7x or some such thing in terms of money. Nobody would take it. Hardly any takers, right? Then we realized there is a sociological problem here. The rural teacher doesn't want to be identified as a driver. The rural teacher wants to show to his society that he is a teacher. This is a problem. But with the lab on a bike, the motorbike, it flipped. Sociologically, it flipped. So now the teacher said, the company has given me a motorbike. Boom! Not a bullet, but normal vehicles. So sociologically, we overcame a problem and it became a huge draw. So from normal teacher for you to graduate into a LOB teacher was a great thing for them, lab on a bike teacher. So these are the kind of things that we have done to innovations wise. And we've done lots of these. Right now we are on a LOT, which is a blended learning, but not like a Khan Academy kind of approach. It is vernacular, it is very specific to the topic. It adds to a physical model, because one of the things that we are very wary about is to, in self-learning as an objective, Muralidharan, is that below 7th standard, 6th, 7th standard, we are a little wary about children being left with purely two-dimensional, laptops or whatever, and trying to learn from there, etc., at least in rural India. Urban India, the 5-year-olds have iPads. But I'm just saying that we are a little, and therefore blended learning is the way we have looked at that. And we create huge amount of content on lab on a tab. It's called the LOT program. So all of that is given here. We also do a lot of work with leadership. We do a lot of work in health and hygiene. Non-communicable disease like diabetes, we do massive amount of work using the YIL model, which I referred to, Young Instructor Leader material, where we train one child on healthy living. How do you avoid, becoming a diabetic or whatever, all the non-communicable ones. And then they answer questions, and then they, once they are adept at it, they have to spread it to 10 other people and bring back similar certifications from the others that they have understood and they have implemented. They have talked to their parents, etc. So it's a kind of a viral spread model. So we do that in health and hygiene, etc. Yeah, you asked. Yeah.
So all these models that we are talking about, all of them require availability of time for even the young instructor or for the teacher who does it in the school. My question is from the perspective of the rigid curriculum that all of these stakeholders have to face. For example, a teacher cannot invest so much time on activities because he has to complete a syllabus at the end of the year. Similarly, the instructor that
Yeah, so the idea is to complete the syllabus using as much experiential and hands-on methods. That is the idea. See, you can take a book and say this is the ray diagram. You can also do it through this method. That is the idea.
activities take time. For a class of 40 students is there.
You divide them into 5 teams and you provide them. See, as much as possible, you do that, right? If you stand and lecture and drone on and on and on, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to stick. Compared to that, see, the syllabus pressure is another very, very bad thing that we have, unfortunately. The whole system seems to be, the question paper at the end of the year will decide what you will teach and how you will teach the answer. And so it's a backward draw from that. I think fortunately things are changing. Not fast enough, but they're changing, hopefully. The other thing that's changing for the better is teacher salaries. I can tell you, it used to be pathetic. Now, much better, all this thing. So you're getting better crop joining our schools, which is a great thing. That's very good. Yeah. I may be slightly overshooting on time, even though we started about 10 minutes later. Okay. So I don't want to delve too much on beyond this. We do several things with global players like Stanford, INSEAD, etc. We do a design thinking program. We have an amazing innovation hub in our campus, like your C5, where children create things, where children innovate for local community problems. Our children have participated in a whole lot of design for change competitions, Intel Iris competitions. Remote rural children have won awards on national, international fora. Roja and Rani in 2012 went all the way to Pittsburgh. Up 14-year-old girls who don't even know how to spell passport. They empowered enough to, we made them go. And we provide scholarships to all the girl children who want to study. We will not leave them. As long as they were passed it through YIL, we will provide them that. And the campus itself has come out amazing, and everything that we do in the campus, one of the things that we do is, how do I outreach this through my mobile lab, my science center, which has spread far and wide. 18 states, 175 mobile labs, 70 plus science centers, 100 plus lab on a bikes, hundreds of lab on a boxes, lab on a tab, about 250 lab on a tabs are there, and so on. And thousands of we have over 1,000 people on our rolls who we pay salaries to every month. Right? And we have an amazing two sets of volunteers. One set of volunteers are the scientists. We have Padma Vibhushan, Dr. Atre, and people like that sitting on our board. We have various scientists of very, very high quality participating in what we do. People like MCBS director from Bangalore, IISC's Anurag Kumar, or previous director, or people like that often come and help us. Dr. Kalam used to be a great supporter. He gave money. He has come to the campus. He has done all kinds of things. So we get that kind of scientific community support to have the credibility as well as the validation that you need to do a lot of these. On the other hand, are 400 plus volunteers who do the night community schools for us. The Operation Vasanta volunteers who go to the villages, sit with the children for 2.5 hours between 6 and 8:30, just in order to get those children to do something that in urban school children have their parents who are already educated doing, helping homework, going and getting that assignment, all kinds of things helping. When does that happen in rural India? How can it happen? The father or mother is not as literate or as this thing as to do it, and they don't even understand that it needs to be done. But there is a community TV, everybody goes there and watches some program, which is there in most villages. How do you get children to even look at learning? So Operation Vasanta was born, and we do it in 400 villages around the country. Every day of the week for 5 days, Operation Vasanta. Yeah, and we take absolute pains to recruit from that village a college student or somebody who's willing to do it in the evening. So everybody knows everybody else, and a little bit of fun goes on, younger kids, it's multi-grade. Younger kids play, etc. That's why we designed a program called Child's Own Little Lab Collab, which is now renamed as Maja Box. Small children, again, the divide is very stark. Urban, well-to-do children, toys, learning toys, right? Lego, it's got great learning value where is Lego in rural India? Where is any other toy? So we provide scientific, science-based toys, STEM toys you've heard of. So we do such things, and we provide them free to the OVE and Anganwadis and primary schools and so on. Yeah. Yes, we do. We are not able to do documentation at a student name level for the 1.5 million children that we meet. But approximately 40 to 50,000 young instructor leaders who we have across 27 centers, we track them at every level. Now, you have to consider that as a very good sample size of what we do. In fact, IIM Bangalore, who did the impact assessment study for us, gave us sample sizes, and we conformed to that. Now, transformation is also a question of, I'm going to leave these with the alumni office. These are case stories of transformed children. This is around Kuppam, this is North Karnataka, and we have such books for other regions as well. And there's another big book which is 15 Years of Agastya, which is a very lovely documentation of what we have done. And I'm going to leave you with another movie to close this talk. But yes, I mean, we do impact assessment, we do tracking and documentation. And let me tell you, curiously, one of our most successful young instructor leader who went through the Agastya system from a nearby school in campus is a chartered accountant. He's not a scientist. He didn't go to science. But the remarkable thing is, he said, I learned analytical thinking and learning on my own, the hunger to learn from Agastya. So it's not, the medium of science, you become agnostic that when you learn the meta skill of learning, when you get into curiosity, creativity, confidence, and caring. That is the most important thing. I start with the bottom of awareness, passive to aware, aware to interest, interest to some discovery, then some curiosity, some problem, some solving, some creativity, ultimately, hopefully, innovation. But does it happen with every child? No, it doesn't. But if I can change 1.5 million children from passive to even 1/2 of them from passive to a little bit of awareness, from there to interest, from there to discovery, from there to problem solving, I think we are making the change. So transformation is within. Catalysis, it is not every child, it is creating that movement. That's what we try and do. Yes, sir.
Sir, how can the outside world, the general population can associate with you through different ways? What are the different ways through which people can?
We spend our money very well, so send us checks. No, sorry. I meant that in jest. Yes, monetary participation is welcome always. A lot of people give us retail, etc. But you're welcome to come to our campus. You can, write to us with ideas. We use them. A lot of volunteers come from even overseas and here. So we welcome them with open arms. The other thing is, what we do is not restricted IP at all. If somebody wants to implement it in his village with his things, you are welcome to white label and do it. I have no problem. I'll give you. I'm not holding it back as because we are not here to hold IPs. We are a charity. We are here to spread learning, and therefore we don't hold back what we create. We have 800 plus models. I have a full-fledged design, engineering, and manufacturing team, which is a beautiful building, inaugurated by Dr. Kalam. Right, where we create these models and activities, but they're open. Anybody can use them. So that is the way we try and involve people. We have huge number of volunteers from various corporations, but the support that we have received has also been amazing from those people. All right, so I think I'm going to shoot out time, and therefore what I'm going to leave you with, since all of you here are STEM focused and also innovation and so on, and startup culture and all of that in IIT Madras, with one video. There are 4 of them that I have here. As I take the questions, I will take the next video which can play in the background, but this is something that you might want to
రాళ్ళు కొట్టి పనిచేస్తాడు. సాయంత్రం అయితేనే వచ్చి ఇంట్లో చేతులకి ఆల్మింగ్ పెట్టుకుంటూ ఉంటాడు.
So you can start at the beginning, maybe. Sorry.
మా నాన్న రాళ్ళు కొట్టి పనిచేస్తాడు. సాయంత్రం అయితేనే వచ్చి ఇంట్లో చేతులకి ఆల్మింగ్ పెట్టుకుంటూ ఉంటాడు. తెలుసుకుంటాం.
That's our innovation.
are in the essence of Agastya's mission to spark curiosity, creativity, and confidence. The Innovation Hub, funded by the National Council of Science Museums, is actually a major initiative to bring about innovation up from the grassroots, to get village children to experiment, to discover, to learn how to find problems, how to find challenging ideas, brainstorm them, prototype them, and bring them to fruition. So it's all about design thinking, right from A to Z.
Traditionally, innovation has been done in a more of an unstructured setting, where people just come up with ideas in their own circumstances. But if you look at modern large research organizations around the world, they are actually using a more structured process for innovation, which can actually accelerate the whole process significantly. And so that's the whole idea behind the innovation process, is to actually accelerate the whole process of coming up with solutions and new ideas. The whole idea of innovation was envisaged as a way to expose the children to creative thinking and entrepreneurship. There are some very key features about this innovation process. One is that it's very interactive. So the children are actually, they form groups of 5, and they're assigned a mentor who guides them through the whole process. And there's a lot of interaction between the group as well as with outside, stakeholders of the project. The other feature is that it's very iterative, in the sense it's not a straight path from an idea to a solution. There's usually multiple steps involved and multiple cycles that we have to go through to make the idea, refine the idea, and make it better. The third thing is it's very hands-on. So it's not just about ideation, it's also about building something like a prototype or a mock-up of your idea, and actually going to customers, stakeholders, and taking a feedback on their inputs on how you can make it better. And the other aspect is that it is interdisciplinary, which means that it's not just about one subject, or let's say maths or chemistry or physics. It usually involves multiple disciplines coming together in one single project.
Innovation and the Arts Center to kind of function seamlessly. How do you make the entire space as space-based learning? So what is the land saying in terms of the recall that the children would kind of interact with, the teachers would kind of interact with? So the whole idea of using the same shale rocks that you see, the brown stones that you see here, back into the building was also part of the entire understanding of the land. Also then we dramatized the program a bit, since the Innovation Hub became a link to the Arts Center. We started to kind of take a bridge across and get directly either into the Innovation Center or come through the Arts Center. So we feel that these disciplines that are set up, which are varied in nature, but that can spark curiosity, that can spark the fact that you leap from one to the other. And very many times we found that things that cannot be connected are starting to kind of connect back. That was an important learning for us.
హ్యాండ్ గ్లౌస్ రాళ్ళు కొట్టేటప్పుడు చేతులు పుండ్లు కాకుండా ఉండడానికి మేము ఇక్కడ వేళ్ళ మధ్యలో పల్చని రేకును పెట్టి కుట్టి ఆ తర్వాత స్పాంజ్ పత్తి పెట్టినాము. అక్కడక్కడ మేము పల్చని రేఖ పెట్టి పత్యం పెట్టి కుట్టేసి రంధ్రాలు పెట్టినాము, గాలి వెళ్ళడానికి రావడానికి రంధ్రాలు పెట్టినాము. స్పాంజ్ ఎందుకు పెట్టినామంటే లోపల ఉన్న తేమను ఎలా బయటికి రావచ్చు అనేసి స్పాంజ్ పెట్టినాము సార్.
So around every day we'll be intaking about 90 students. So in a year it will be around 1,600 to 800, 1,800. And every day there are more than 4 batches. They will be subdivided into 8 teams. So they will be having around 8 exposures per year.
It's something that I believe can be scaled up across the country. The model that we have developed in consultation with the National Council of Science Museums and a number of other scientists and innovators. So we are very thankful to the National Council of Science Museums in taking this initiative to spread it across India in general, and more particularly to have faith in Agastya to make it happen on our Creativity Lab campus. We're also grateful to Cisco for supporting this initiative, without which, you know, a lot of the great stuff that we're doing wouldn't happen.
All right, so I've got more videos, but we'll not play them at this point of time. It's just to say that the process of innovation, which can be structured into empathy, ideation, discussion, then prototyping, ultimately creating a product and so on, testing, and all that can be done even at school level. And children do it and create. It's not as if, you know, people haven't designed gloves before, but for these children to create something for his father is highly emotional, and they do it. And they do it so well, and then, you know, make the prototype and so on. So what I'm going to do is to play a video of Agastya at the background. Can you cut the sound in this completely, and then I can take questions during that time? Can you? Okay, so let that play, and I'm willing to take questions. This is a drone shot, very high fidelity drone shot that's been taken of our campus with new buildings and all of that. Yeah. So is it okay if I take questions now and close the session after that? Yeah. Yes, we do, huge amount, because as I said at the beginning, from an institution to and an organization, we need to move to a movement. And that cannot be done without force multipliers such as our teachers. And therefore, we do huge amount of teacher training for the kind of work or the kind of pedagogy that we believe can be effective, hands-on, experiential, model making, constructivism, kinesthetic, several huge amount of things that we do for Maharashtra, Orissa, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, various teachers. We do quite a lot. And huge corporate support for a whole lot of these things. Yeah. Yeah, Ganesh. Yeah. And that equipment is there in that, which visualization you, Rajalakshmi gave. Yeah. Yes. Very good, very good. Excellent. I think these are steps in the right direction. In fact, Amitabh Kant approached us once saying that, would you do that in those places, etc. It involved certain competitive bidding, etc. We didn't have the time. Our hands are full for the things that we do, so we politely refused at that point of time. But yes, I think they are very, very good. I've seen several in action at the Tinkering Labs. They're very good. Yeah, very good. Excellent stuff. Yes, Ganesh. Sure, no problem.
First, congratulations. Very, very inspiring to learn about what I have reached as a about. First question is a simple one. Why was it named Agastya?
Goes a little bit back to the spirituality of the founders, and the fact why it became appropriate is he is somebody who's supposed to have straddled geographies, subjects, and the embodiment and the great representation of ancient India's knowledge and content.
Devotion and commendam.
Exactly.
Second one is, a lot of what happens in school education, as you rightly pointed out, coming to the question of Arjuna asked and our friend there also asked, has to do with the character of the teacher.
Yes.
I mean, to what extent would you observe, or have you observed, that the happen to teachers?
Okay, so let me give you a very quick example. In all our mobile sessions and science centers where children stream in, either in science centers through buses that we provide or mobile labs where it goes to the school, etc., our rough average has been prima facie interest is only 50% of the teachers. Prima facie. Balance 50% will go to the nearest people tree and talk in their mobile labs thinking that Agastya has taken over my session, I am free today. This is the attitude for at least half. As I said, this is improving. This is improving for the better because we are getting better crop of teachers. I was astounded to know that Haryana percentage is much higher because they get better crop of teachers coming in, more interested people, because they pay better. If you go to a Gurgaon school, you will find that secondary school teachers drive cars. They do. Which means they get paid reasonably well or whatever to make that money, and which is, I think, good from the perspective of getting better crop and not as the last resort of somebody who doesn't get any other job lands up as a teacher. So on an average, 50% are almost immediately out. But when we do a age correlation, fortunately, they are 45, 50 and above. So younger crop is better, etc., etc. All that is also comes out, which is a good thing because going forward, we'll have the younger ones coming. Out of that, if you start looking at how many people actually engage with you, do the make your own model, create low cost models, come back to you, and all of that, maybe we'll get about 10% to 15%. 10 to 15% kind of a thing is, to me, from the funnel which started as 100, precipitate or whatever, or a filtrate, whatever you want to call it, of about 10 to 15% is pretty good from a total numbers point of view. Absolutely, 100%, they are the ones who have to transform.
And do we have good documentation of the effects on teachers?
Yes, we do have. We do have. In fact, we don't leave our teacher training, focused teacher training programs as it is. We send a mobile lab after them. We have a teacher training follow-up mobile lab, which goes to the schools where these teachers are employed to see what they are doing and help them. So maintenance of something that you have done is very, very important in our way of thinking. And the corporate which funds it, which is Infosys, is very clear. They said, sure, we will fund that too. We will not just say, I'll fund 10 days of teacher training and then I'll leave them to chance. They said, the follow-up action that will make it more and more meaningful, we'll fund that too. That's very important because a lot of people create buildings and then don't maintain.
That initiative, I think, can pay off a lot.
Absolutely.
If you're able to work on the teacher's inspiration, you can really scale by...
Yeah. The only issue with teacher training, as I said, or let me rephrase it. It's not, I shouldn't make too many statements which are politically incorrect. So let me come back and say, while it is much easier to get approvals and entry into schools for teaching children, it's not as easy to get teachers from their layer into our layer. It's not easy. It's very tough.
Are you finding it very difficult to deal with DEOs, CEOs?
I didn't say it, you said it. So let's not even, less apolitical statements I am better off. I don't know who's here who's reporting.
Just two more questions.
Yeah, Ganesh.
So it's all connected. What was Agastya's first engagement with this world, the world of the bright children?
2002 mobile lab.
No, what experience drove? I'm looking at the case.
Okay, so in 2001, 2.
What happened? Why did they get inspired?
Right. So let me just put it this way. The idea initially was for the founders. I wasn't there then. I joined only 9 years ago. So Ramji, Mahavir, Balasundaram of Rishi Valley earlier, P.K. Iyengar as an advisor and several others, when they set it up, the idea was to create a model school which is hands-on, etc., etc., etc. And then it would have gone the international school way. Fortunately, they didn't have money, ran out of money. After buying the land from Naidu's this thing. When they ran out of money, some of the people, one of our advisors who's now on our board, Padma Vibhushan, Dr. Atre, who used to be DRD, was Director General after Kalam, he said, why do you guys want to be lazy? I'll give you a vehicle, put some models, go to villages, which is what we did first. A tractor driver was engaged as the first mobile instructor with some training. We thought that he will get stoned because you're going to some villages which are, all kind. Fortunately, he came back with more positive experiences than negative. And that's what said, okay, this is a great way of, if, Mountain Muhammad, etc., the simile. So that's what we did.
Last question.
Yes, Ganesh.
This class is a very interesting thing. For the child, I think it's a phenomenal experience. To what extent are the activities of Agastya, physics, chemistry, biology, whatever, experimental stuff that you have, or the laboratory stuff, whatever you build, are connected with the local occupations and routine work?
Very much. In fact, every single project that we do has to be connected with the community. This is fundamental. Any DFC project that we do, and we do quite a few, any project that we do to submit to a project competition or whatever, has to have a local connector. Whether it is water issue for irrigation, or it is a bio issue with a farming issue, or it is a livestock issue, or even a behavioral issue of elders or whatever, drinking, things like that. We've had all kinds of projects. Yes, Dr. Nagaraj. Oh, achha, you're not asking. Okay. We're going to restrict it to 2 questions is what he's saying. Time-wise. And even that isn't there, so I am free to go. Is that right? Great. Okay, I have left a few things here. These brochures, as many, I think each one will get one if they want to, if they're interested. And my cards also probably enough numbers. But these are only 3 that I'm going to leave it to the alumni office. Anybody wants to have? It's a beautiful documentation. Some of the YouTube has got a complete channel on Agastya with over 250 plus videos, maybe 200 plus 250, and all of them are very, very good videos, even though I say so myself. Modesty is not. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. It was really an inspirational talk. Now I request Professor Nagarajan to hand over the token of gratitude.
Oh, Campus Times. Wow. You already have a copy? No, I don't. It's amazing. Thank you. Deeply appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I used to contribute also way back.